Well, hello. I pray that this message will be a blessing to you and that your weekend is going well. I know I promised to go ahead and do as Abba said, and so that message will be coming hopefully sometime maybe Sunday night, if not Monday morning, on the part two of why some speak and tolerate verbal pain. But I was so led to make sure that I get this message out while it was in my belly, and that is to make sure that I go ahead and close this series out. And it is a classroom, so you're going to get a pen and prepare for it, where I'm talking about the part three of this series on healthy commitments, which I think is very important for us to talk about, because I'm talking about, if you look at that heading there, the purpose versus past prisons, and, and relationship and realignment and all of that. I think it's very important, but I felt led to talk about the issue of self-imposed prisons. And many of us are going and trying to test out the next best thing, okay? And this is why a lot of us are getting into a whole lot of traps, because we want to consider the next best thing. Now, let's face it, we all go through different issues where we have fears, we have concerns, but we got a lot of traps that have put us in positions to accept, the next best thing. And some of those next best things are not what God has for our destiny. And some of those things have caused us to disconnect or connect to the wrong things, okay, and at the wrong time. And so I wanted to share in this message to really give a premises of what I wanted to share is to kind of talk a little bit about those self-imposed things that we have done to ourselves. Many times when we have either had a relationship or the relationship has become a bad one, or we're in the middle of trying to see, decide what God really wants us to do when we've made some of those our own decisions about matters. But when I say self-imposed, what I'm talking about is something that you have required of yourself, or something that you have expected of yourself. And so it's none of that's bad, especially when we're talking about goal setting and things like that. And we won't talk about goal setting on we're losing weight, because that's always one of the battles that the devil play with us about. We just go right back to eating the cookies again. Hello, ding dong, talking to somebody. But when we think about the issue of being self-imposing upon ourselves and putting our destinies in prison when God is trying to talk to us. So an example of that is just trying to look at, what we could have, should have, would have done, or you're thinking about, the thing that you had no business doing, or you found yourself doing it again, or you were committed about something or to someone that has required something of you, or you felt that you should be doing a thing by now. It has really put you into a self-imposed prison. And now you're looking at and trying to look at some things that you rather compromise about for the next best thing, okay? And so, but that next best thing usually messes up because it's counterfeit. And unfortunately, if we don't stay awake, in this last day, God is trying to get us to pay attention to the areas of our lives that we have been asleep way too long in. And so I'm trying to fix my PowerPoint here so I can look at some of my notes that I'm grabbing here to share with you. As I began to meditate on this, I thought about my own life and how I would grab the next best thing, the thing that made me feel more comfortable, or things I figure I can just get through with. In other words, it's just simple. It's a compromise. And even if it's a small compromise, I think we need to wake up to the matter that next best thing is not going to work. We need to wake up and stay awake, okay? Because the enemy have put us asleep in this next best thing because it felt good, or it looked like it was going to come out to be something that looked like that you fixing to really, really go down a road that you fixing, how they say, make it big, or things are going to get popping for you and so on. But these small compromises, this next best thing that we have really compromised, it limits our perception. It puts these little tiny little nuggets of, I call little foxes, in the way of the vine to destroy the true destiny where God is trying to take us. And we all do that to ourselves. Many times we get frustrated, we get tired, and so we have these little tiny little bricks that we start to build, these tiny little seeds that we start to allow to be in our heart of frustration with our own selves. And before you know it, we are not getting our destiny on no kind of track. We just jumping on and off of things. And, if you find yourself making these small compromises, you've got to know that Galatians 5 and 9 tell us all the time, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Now, if you get us some thought what I'm talking to you about tonight, I pray that you will take some of these things down that I'm trying to share with you. It's very important because one of the biggies is disappointment. Disappointment, it sends this place where it feels as though we just, we get complacent. We just feel like, we're in the status quo. You start to think about, I've let myself down. I feel like that the relationship that I did or I thought was going to be him or her, now it's not working out. And I feel that maybe if I hadn't have done this with them, I hadn't put myself in that position. So now you got all these disappointments and all these expectations, and now you feel complacent. You feel like you're not fitting in or you're not coming up to what God would have you to be. And now you're in a real comfort zone, really where you are, so you're trapped. And we don't want to admit that we're trapped. And we find ourselves being in a sense of feeling that our purpose is withering away, okay, because we're not actualizing the fact that we have did this compromise in this place, that we have made a decision that we're going to do the next best thing. And that's what the devil wants us to do. He wants to do the next best thing. So after you give it some thought, I want you to realize some of these different areas that I'm talking about right here now, for you to analyze these that I'm talking about tonight, for you to think about as I'm giving this little short message. I want you to think about what have I been doing concerning the next best thing, concerning my finances, concerning my health, concerning my relationship that I've committed things to that I shouldn't have. I hope you write these down. So finances was the first one. Debt is another one. What have I put myself in debt with trying to compromise to get what I want, not even in the time God wants you to have. You just want to have it because you want to have it. You want that new car. You want that new house. And God is probably saying, you haven't been able to pay the bills the last thing that you were doing, and now you want to struggle to try to go and do this. Think about what have I done for the next best thing that has really, really caused me a problem. Many of us have done this, and we don't realize that we continue to do it, and this is why we can't get to where we need to be. So I wanted to bring that part to you. Think on that. What have I done in this toxic relationship? See, this toxic relationship, what it does, it makes us be in the place that for some reason, we feel like this next best thing is going to get us to be with somebody or to, how they say, be able to, as the guys say, hit that one time, or we find ourselves to say, well, I'm going to take my holiness and I'm going to put it on, how they say, behind the cross so that God can give me a chance just to feel it one more time. But then you got these toxic relationships where people just want to have their way with you, and you want to let them have their way, and you let them rule you with their narcissistic or their types of behavior that they want you to do everything in this Jezebelic mode. So you find yourself in a toxic relationship even with people who you know that are not your mate. You're just trying to compromise so you can have some warm body next to you. I don't want to preach. I'm just trying to talk to you. So when you think about that part too, what have you did for the next best thing? Some of us seem to let people be in our lives just for comfort of saying we got somebody. I got a man, or I'm dating somebody, or I got a lady. So anyone who is toxic, that means to your physical or your mental well-being has to be eliminated. Otherwise, you're going to enslave yourself. That's what I'm talking about here, about this prison stuff that we put ourselves in. You did this to yourself, and I want you to think about that. Don't beat yourself up, but I want you to think about what you're doing with the job you got. Do you really want to be there? What you're doing with these addictive behaviors, the Tylenol PM, the too much wine. People know they're getting wine. They want to use it as a biblical principle for them to be able to relax. But some of y'all drinking wine to be drunk. Some of you drinking wine to try to get in a whole nother, a whole nother mode of something, or trying to get to calm you down, when actually it has become a habit of drinking this wine, and now it's become something that is not good for the body, not good for the mind. So your behaviors change. Now you're feeling all good and relaxed. Now you want to call some old flame, or you're feeling all good and relaxed, and now you're ready to read somebody their rights because now you ready to let that other inward person come out of you that you've been hiding way too long. Listen to me. This addictive behavior can put your mind in a fashion that before you know it, you become trapped, and you want this type of thing all the time. I was talking to somebody earlier today about how people smoke marijuana, or whatever they call it, CBD, or whatever name you want to call it, but they're trying to find a way to get the oil, they're trying to find a way to get weed and use excuse to say, I take this to calm me down, or this is my little secret thing that I can rest with. But really what it is it's become a crutch. And really, people could not believe it. I was telling her, look, I've been there where I would smoke weed. It gave me a bunch of strength and power. See, weed does that. It want to make you feel like that you're indispensable, that you could say anything, you bold, and that you're so cool, and you got all this intellectual mind. It shifts you there. It depends on how much intellect you already got. So that ego will go another way because it's working on your mind. It's either going to take you down or it's going to bring you up. It depends on where it has gotten you in the addictive behavior from taking it in the very first place. Think about what's necessary for you right now to break free from that. I was not only smoking the weed, I was selling the stuff. We got people right now that are even in the Christendom, they're selling pills or their own prescriptions, and these addictive behaviors. Think about where are you right now that you have compromised in this realm for the next best thing. And then the fear of loss, many of you there. The fear of being alone, that's a big one. Things keep looking like they're not growing or it's not getting better. So you have this fear. You have this thing that makes you feel like I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I don't be alone or that I get what I need to make sure I look blessed and highly favored or that I have arrived or I got this title or I got this degree or I got whatever I got, and still you losing because you don't have the next best thing. And the only thing, not next, but the only thing, and that is Jesus in your life. Your husband should be Jesus first. Your wife should be Jesus first. And so then you're going to have the next thing is a feeling of unworthiness. This is what that does when you have that out of whack, when you have the wrong thing in place. You feel unworthy. You start telling yourself you're not enough, you don't have enough education, you're not talented enough. All you got is negativity is coming from your ego because you're using the next best thing to get what you want. Everything is about what you want. Everything is about what is going to give you value or well-being. That's what you're doing based on what the outer man is trying to show you. I'm trying to slow this down. And so then another thing is you start to blame people. Okay, you refuse to forgive yourself. You have this feeling of guilt because of the next best thing that you chose to do that got yourself in this trap anyway. So these negative, toxic voices that you hear from others, even from your own self, talking bad about yourself, it leaves you feeling victimized and powerless, and these things start to bind inside of your mind, and then you're in this prison, you didn't realize you put your own self in. So you got to stop letting people speak negative. You got to quit allowing these voices to talk to you. That's why you got to look at what have I allowed to be the next best thing in my life and not get the only thing, and that is Jesus. So you're going to be responsible for your own happiness. You're going to be responsible for getting yourself out of this misery. You know what? Most of us, most of the time, we think that somebody else has put us in a trap when we really don't want to recognize that we look for the next best thing, that we actually put our own self in this trap. We really, really did because we are not happy with ourselves. Let me go and close out this here because I know I can go on all day long, but I'm so glad that we're closing out this particular part of the series, and I think this part here is important for y'all to know because of the fact that we don't want to recognize just simply what that word means. That word self-imposed, you just expecting maybe some things, the expectations that you're expecting of yourself that you may not even been around yet or have not passed the milk part of it for the meat, or the person that you're expecting meat out of, they ain't got nothing but milk to give you. I don't want to preach. So why could you expect something from somebody who don't even have that capacity of that wisdom to give you? Call it a counseling session, a classroom, whatever you want to call it. But I'm trying to get you to see something before I get off of here. You cannot expect something from someone who do not have the capacity or the competency or the will to give you because they don't have the will to survive for themselves. They could be just tapping off of whatever you give them. You mothering them or you fathering them, and then you just empty because you don't have the right thing in place. You don't have your desire in place. Let me get off here and give you this part that I want to share real quick because it just really, really gets to me when I think about the number of people who are really, really trapped because they're in the mode of looking for the next best thing, and it's not what you need. You need to be realigned in the spirit realm. You need to be realigned with relationships because some of these people and some of these things that you're aligned in and some of these marriages that y'all are in, they were never sent from God. They were never yoked by God. You was yoked by the flesh. And so when that happens, you're going to find yourself trying to have expectations or trying to live up to somebody else's expectation that was not from God. And so now you're trying to figure out how you're going to wiggle out of it. Going to have sex with somebody else and going to look at porn and masturbate and all that stuff is not going to be the next thing. You're going to have to repent. You're going to have to seek God about the realignment of the relationship. You're going to have to seek God about getting counseling for that marriage that you have made the choice. You have self-imposed yourself with something that maybe God has not told you to do, but for whatever reason you got with them, maybe it's you begin to think about it with a quick way you make everything okay, right? Maybe if I do this, it'll make everything okay. Maybe it'll make me feel more positive. Maybe it'll be more attainable for me. Maybe it'll be more believable for me within myself if I can just get her, if I can get him. The devil is crazy. He wants you to be in that place. Listen to me. I'm going to get ready to get out. When you don't think about what's really happening to you, we don't take a minute to realize that what is really happening in the prison of your mind, this next thing, we often assume that we need to make these new circumstances in our lives our own self, not going to God, not seeking to him, going to him about our desires, not trying to make everything all right ourselves. We try to make these circumstances go away or because we're so disappointed in ourselves, you don't have any positive thinking about anything. Everything is about, I made the decision, so I'm giving myself the permission. The devil is crazy. No. It's going to have to be God. You don't want to waste no more time. Do you hear me? Everything that's about the next thing, the new job, that new relationship, that decision that you decide to do about that car, this new house, these new clothes you bought and ready to take them back because you want to get the money back. I know I'm talking to you. But you need to think about it. That new car was not the next best thing. That new house, more than likely, was not the next best thing because you was already empty and lost because you still didn't have your lover in place, your Lord, and that's Jesus, okay? So even if you move to another city, many of you are running trying to say, I'm going to move somewhere else because you can't stand the divorce, you can't stand to see them, I'm leaving that church, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I don't want to be around them, I'm going to start me a new relationship, I'm going to start me a new business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, everything is I'm going. You ain't doing nothing. You can't do nothing without him. See, these external things are only replacements. They're not solutions. I hope you hear me. They're not solutions because you're still carrying around all this unresolved internal issues about these past prisons, these relationships that you need to realign from things that you have made commitments about, that you hate, you did it. You made that commitment about a business. You made that commitment about the relationship. You're going to go with somebody or invest with somebody. I know I'm talking to you. You need to slow it down and think, why have I done this? Why did I even allow them to talk me into that? Why did I even get hooked up with them? You think about that. You did this disappointment or this ego trip. You did this for either a replacement or a solution to the disappointment or whatever your ego was telling you that you ought to do to make you look like that you're going to get past this thing or you're going to experience something better. It's always an emotional or mental or behavioral issue that the spirit of a man that seems like they're not able to sustain whatever the infirmity of the disappointment or pain was, it's going to make its own permissions. It's not going to seek God about anything. It's an ego that's there to destroy you, derail you, to put you in these places. And because you're still carrying around all this unresolved internal stuff, your expectations versus God's plans for your life, everything he does is good. You got to look within yourself and see, what am I still hurting about? When you're trying to replace these things or replace the pain of this one thing with the pleasure of something else, it will not be lasting. It will not be positive. Matter of fact, it's going to derail you and put your mind in prison. Why? Because that thing that seems like it's motivating you, that thing that seems like it's attracting you to this new thing, the thing that's making you feel like you medicated, that disappointment, that feeling of lacking something, that's the one that you have made a decision that you want to do the next thing with. And that's the one that you're building this house that God wants to build on a house, a foundation that will not sink like sinking sand. This is the one that you're building your house on sand because you just want the next best thing. It may stand for a little while. Yeah, you may get very prosperous. Yeah, you may get the business rolling. It never fails. It never seems to amaze me how people can get all the degrees, they can get all the things, and I've done all of that. But when I realized that I was lacking wisdom, I was lacking understanding, I was lacking the presence of God in my life because I was too busy trying to do the next best thing. I'm talking to you. But sooner or later, I realized that now that house that I built out of all this sinking sand promises of what I thought was better are going to take me further or was going to make me feel better about the situation and the decisions that I made, that house sank. Why? Because it was built on this foundation that was not a strong foundation, which was Jesus. It was built on a sinking sand of emotional torment and trauma from the past things that I chose to self-impose on myself. Listen to me. I want you to consider these things. I'm getting off here. Think about when have you attempted to actually seek God about these things that you've made a decision to have your expectation in a realm that it should not be, or people in your life that you already know that you self-impose yourself and put yourself in prison about being the next thing that God may want you to do. You know, when have you really attempted to seek God about these things, okay, or seeking out how can I get to work better if I would just do it my way, you know, give myself permission to do it one more time, one more way, feel it one more time, do it one more time, you know, and then I'm going to straighten out. No, because much is given and much is required. So I want you to look at what can I do to work this out with Jesus now, because I've done enough on my own. I need him. I've always needed him, but I still want to give my own self permission. Then I want you to think about, am I really searching for something external that I really need internally done for me, about for God to give me a healing, an inner healing about this matter so I can move forward? I want you to meditate on that. Am I really okay with this stuff? Well, my time's been wind down. I already see my time is going to go off, so I want to say this to you, and I want you to say like this just for the night. Think about, come on, repeat it after me. I want you to think about, now let me just read to you first about the Selah I want you to think about, just for today, okay? My message here says, we often heard the expression, don't quit. You know, let's just give it 5 more minutes. I'm gonna give it 1 more year. I'm gonna give it one more try. I'm gonna see if I can try to see if this marriage is gonna work. I'm gonna see if my friend don't treat me right this time. I'm gonna quit being around them. You know, if they keep on borrowing money, if I keep on waiting on them to pay me back and they don't, you know, all these if I. But I don't want you to quit. I want you to look at the real prison that you self-impose. And I want you don't quit. Why? Because God is about to do something. He's about to do something, number one, because you took the time to listen to this message. He's about to do something because he wants you to expect him to be able to deliver you from your self-imposed prison. Why? Because he's still in the miracle-working business. Miracles still happen. There are times in our lives when all things seem like they're lost, and then we find no solution that we thought we can do out of these problems and these situations we put ourselves in. And so the way we are living right now, we think it will never change. It looks like it's never going to get better. And in the very moment that we decided we want to throw everything out, we want to leave the marriage, we want to leave the situation, we want to quit going to school, we don't want to try no more, we want to leave the relationship, God is trying to get you to look within, okay? Quit just looking around, look within. And at that very moment, you'll begin to see, I need Jesus. I need Jesus to help me. And so the answer will always appear to be that I'm looking to get things done now, when God is trying to get you to know that, where is my patience? I don't even have no patience for nothing no more. Why? Because I did the next best thing so much till I don't even know what patience means no more. So if during this waiting period, that you begin to look back and remember all these different past prisons, these relationships that need to be realigned, and your purpose need to be looked at real closely to see, have I been derailed, you know, or have I been listening to this ego voice that makes me try to do everything on my own. During this waiting period, I want you to pray, and I want you to look back, and I want you to say, God, I thank you for getting me through this time that I've been self-imposing destruction upon myself. And during that time, I want you to look at all the obstacles and all the difficult times that you may be even trying to get past, or maybe in right now. But if you could take a minute and think about that, if you don't see where God has worked these miracles in your life right now, then most importantly, you're going to miss it, that the little faith that you did have, that you thought that you could do in your own strength, God wants you to know that hope is still alive. That's what I want you to know. Hope is still alive right now. Therefore, I want you to pray, and I'm urging you right now, don't quit before the miracle happens. God is talking to you. I know he is. All you got to look at, the next thing is not going to be it without him. Now, come on and repeat this after me right now. Today, come on and say it. Today, I will recognize that my life can be truly miraculous. Even in this, I will have faith that each day is getting better and better, even if I'm too blind to see it. I know I've told you this before, But today I'm telling it to you again. Don't let self-imposed prisons cause you just to do the next best thing. Look within, okay? So here it is. I'm going to give you Psalm 51:6 for tonight. And I want you to recognize this. God wants to cleanse us in our innermost depths of our soul and our being. He wants us to recognize that we must first desire to be cleansed from the inside. Don't just keep looking around you. Look within. So, Father, I thank you that your word says in Psalm 51:6 that, behold, you desire truth in the inward parts. In the hidden part, you and only you can make us to know wisdom. So I thank you that one is listening, God, that will desire more of you and less of them, and that every self-imposed prison that they put themselves in, every commitment to any relationship or thing that they've done on their own, God, all these past prisons that they've even self-imposed on themselves, and even trying to desire to have the next best thing to pacify the pain or the disappointment. God, we thank you that we believe you and we desire you more than anything. We believe that we can behold your beauty as we come closer and closer to you. And so I think that even now they will desire to want to be cleansed from the inside out. They will desire to want to make sure that you will govern their lives and that they will not try to govern it on their own. We release that to you now. In Jesus' name. Go and have a wonderful next week, and I pray that you will share this message. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. God bless you.